When I talk to lots of business owners in the wraparound childcare space, what I hear them say is that they define themselves as a playwork setting. When I dig into that conversation with them, what I find is that they actually are not really sure what they mean by a playwork setting. What we know is that in playwork terms, we want children to be able to drive the content and the intent of their play. We want them to be able to have adults stood in readiness to respond to the playful behaviours of children. But what that means is that we as adults sometimes have a fear about what that might look like. What children bring to the play space when we allow them the space to play how they need and want to can make us as adults feel really very uncomfortable because it's out of our control. And so what we find is that actually we have a bit of a hybrid model of practice within the wraparound childcare space. And that's okay. It's okay because we need to understand where it comes from. We need to understand what it means. And we need to be consistently thinking about whether or not that is the right way for us to practice in our settings. We don't have a strict framework that tells us what we must achieve within our settings. So it's okay for us to define that. But it's very important that we think through from top to bottom almost, that if we're defining ourselves as a playwork setting, we have an understanding of what that means. We have an understanding of what it translates to in terms of what adults actually do day to day and how adults interact with children, how they stand ready to respond to children's playful behaviours, and that we don't get into situations where we are helicopter playworking, where we're hovering over children, asking them questions, keeping a strong eye on what they do, because we're worried. We're worried about what the school that we work on might think. We're worried about whether or not parents think that we are doing enough to educate, support and develop their child after school. And we're worried about what other adults might think of us in our workforce, in our teams. If we don't have a strong understanding and a strong ethos of practice and what we want that to look like, we can get ourselves into situations where we are less able to feel confident doing the thing that we know is really good because we're compensating for the fact that we are worried about judgment. We're worried about what other people think. We're worried about what other people will judge us for our practice. So we end up doing things that we don't feel are quite right. And it takes a confident practitioner, it takes a confident business owner to stand in the vision and the ethos for their own practice and say, do you know what? This is what I believe is right for children. We are within the regulations as they're set out. We are operating securely for children, but we're also offering them brilliant play experiences that are driven by children day in, day out in our settings.